Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm meteorologist Dave Percy, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, we've got I've got a shot here of the a webcam shot, FAA webcam shot of from Anchorage looking east. And this isn't taken today. This is just a comparative shot they use. And but this morning, this is what it looked like looking east Anchorage there. A lot of clouds actually obscuring the hills here off to the east, or the Chugach Mountains. That's smoke that came up from the Swan Lake fire today. That really moved on up during the nighttime hours. It was taken at mid-morning today. And that due to, well, there's the Swan Lake fire. That's the source of the smoke. And you can see the southwest breeze here carrying that right on up into Anchorage. And really, that's not that far of a trip in a straight line. You think of Kenai or Soldotna, and you think of the route that you have to go to drive there. Well, the smoke doesn't have to take that route. It takes a direct route straight up. And so it doesn't really have much of a chance to dissipate. And that's going to continue and could actually become a little heavier overnight tonight into tomorrow. Also, another aspect of the fire is a cloud type called pyrocumulus here. And that's, let me get over to the side here. That's due to the smoke that rises, obviously, from the clouds. Also, water vapor in it, and it can actually start to produce, when the rises, the water vapor cools, or the entire column cools, not just the water vapor, but anyway, it'll form a cloud, and it looks very much like a cumulus. In some cases, in more intense fires, those can actually start to produce lightning. And from there, we'll take a look at the fire danger map. And precipitation here, really the Copper River Basin, reduced fire danger a little bit there, 0.4 of an inch falling at Gulkana in the last 24 hours, as 24-hour amount. And some good moisture actually got across into the Alaska Range and onto the north side there. Chena Hot Springs or Chena Summit, something like that, I forget now, had about 0.4 of an inch of precipitation in the last 12 hours. And that cuts off here as you get up toward the upper Yukon Valley. So still extreme fire danger there. And then it sort of tapers off from what we had yesterday across the Koyukuk and Kobuk valleys, with high fire danger extending out into the Noatak Valley, and not quite as far south and southwest as it was yesterday. And then the Susitna Valley, southern Susitna Valley, still in the high fire danger zone. Northern areas, like from Trapper Creek, Talkeetna, they picked up about half an inch. A soaking rain fell with the showers and thunderstorms from last evening up there. And so obviously that greatly reduced the fire danger in those areas there. And then around the Kenai Peninsula, of course, where the fire's going, high fire danger also. And then over toward the Northway Tok area, but that's come down. The greater Chicken area picked up about 1/4 of an inch of precipitation in the last 12 hours. And moving on to satellite imagery, see all the cloudiness here. So due to the precipitation I just spoke of from the Copper River Basin and over the eastern Tanana Valley, sun breaking out this afternoon, Fairbanks, sunny skies, light winds, and that pattern extends all the way back to Kotzebue. But there are thunderstorms developing over the eastern Brooks Range, and then kind of also in this area, cloudiness, thunderstorms starting to break out and westerly flow, pushing them off to the east. Clouds up over the north slope due to a pretty good upper trough swinging by the area there. And anywhere from 1 to 2/10 of an inch of precipitation fell across a good portion of the north slope over the last 24 hours. Rain falling this afternoon, Dead Horse eastward to Kaktovik. And also winds gusting anywhere from 25 to 35 miles an hour out of the west or west-southwest on the eastern Arctic coast. Down to the south, looks like mostly clear skies right into northern Bristol Bay. Kodiak, fog, dense fog this morning at the state airport. That broke out to sunshine by late morning. And then clouds covering all of the Bering Sea here, associated with a 998 millibar low. They're weakening, continue to weaken. And that front extending eastward with light rain, fog, and drizzle. Really the rainfall, not much of a factor, pretty much a non-factor, very light amounts, all less than, at least the reporting stations, less than 1/10 of an inch, or in some cases just a few hundredths. Winds a little more significant, cold basing gusts close to 40 miles an hour out of the southeast this afternoon, and anywhere from 25 to 35 miles an hour up toward the Pribilof Islands, but the flying conditions much more of a factor with this, with the lower ceilings and visibilities, especially with the fog and drizzle aspect of it. And fog areas of here over the eastern bearing up toward St. Lawrence Island. Nome, showers this afternoon, cloudy skies, and then those clouds cut off right near or just east of the Nulato Hills. Looks pretty good up here over the central areas back to the northwest, and then that trough bringing the moisture into the eastern Arctic coast. That starts to move off, tries to move off, the main push off to the east, so look for precipitation to decrease later tonight. It might take most of the night to end over toward Barter Island and over the eastern north slope, but the winds will definitely be coming down from the levels you saw today. Evening thunderstorms, a distinct possibility, Denali Park, northern Susitna Valley, eastward all the way to the border there along that thermal trough. And showers here along the eastern part of the Panhandle. Those will end this evening as well, and you'll be left with just a few clouds. And that could be a little more extensive out along the coast. Kodiak, risk of some fog again tonight, but this general westerly flow may keep that from happening, or at least keep it from getting as dense as it was. Otherwise, we've got a chance of rain increases along the southwest coast here, mostly from Cape Newenham northward, Tuksuk Bay, Makoriak. Those areas won't reach St. Lawrence Island tonight. Rain periods of Alaska Peninsula along with fog here back toward the Fox Islands, starting to become a little more showery. Not much change out over the Aleutians or the remainder of the Bering Sea. And then for Thursday, this system, or I'm sorry, for Tuesday, tomorrow, this front pushes northeastward and continues to keep the rain chances going now into even northeastern Bristol Bay. This weak warm front will bring a chance of rain to the southwest side of Kodiak Island, and kind of a damp day with still breezy conditions. That's pattern there is good for, again, 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts, particularly for Cold Bay, not so much for other locations there. And it'll be breezy, wet, cloudy, occasionally foggy there for the Fox Islands, again the Pribilofs, and it looks like some of that moisture tries to push up to St. Lawrence Island, but whatever falls will be quite light with that. And again, low hanging back over the southwest Bering, so not much change out in that area. Mostly sunny, northern half of the state, areas of fog possible eastern Beaufort Sea coast under that ridge of high pressure. And then thunderstorms not quite as extensive here, developing again possibly Denali Park, Alaska Range, maybe the northern Susitna Valley, Talkeetnas, and then over the eastern Alaska Range, but nothing widespread. Should be a mostly sunny day, temperatures in the 70s from the Susitna Matanuska Valley down across the Kenai Peninsula, and a dry day with some sunshine at times over areas of the southeast coast. Outlook for Wednesday, mostly sunny now for the Panhandle with light winds, same thing for the North Gulf Coast, sunny and warmer. Kenai Peninsula, south central Alaska, Copper River Basin, anywhere from 75 to 85 for the highs, and that same pattern extends all the way northward there to the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. To the west, another story, breezy and damp here, especially from the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, as frontal boundaries here and waves traveling mostly to the north spread rainfall all the way up, possibly into Kotzebue Sound, across the Seward Peninsula, St. Lawrence Island. And for lows tonight, Arctic coast near or slightly below freezing in some areas, otherwise in the mid-30s from the north slope, 40s and 50s over the interior, and 40s to lower 50s for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, 70 to 76, Susitna Valley, even into the Kenai Peninsula, Kuskokwim Valley, mid-70s, Tanana Valley, mid-70s, and upper 30s, lower 40s for the Arctic coast. Warming up here for the Panhandle with 72 near Skagway and near 70 even over the southern areas. And then overnight lows, 50 to 55, southwest interior, lower 50s in the central interior, followed by highs, 75 to 85.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning's flying weather. Socked in IFR here, Aleutians, Bering Sea, right up almost to the southwest coast with the marginal a little to the east-northeast of that. Looks like VFR, St. Lawrence Island, Norton Sound, and some marginal stuff for the Bering Strait. IFR, central eastern Arctic coast, extending down toward the eastern North Slope area, toward the Brooks Range, and IFR here, Gulf of Alaska, right up into southern Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast, down the coastline of the southeast coast. And then for the afternoon, marginal VFR over the inside waters retreats back somewhat out toward the outer coast. Otherwise, IFR hangs in the Gulf of Alaska here, right up in toward Montague Island. VFR, Kodiak State Airport, Fognak Island, and then nothing but VFR over interior Alaska, marginal VFR along the Arctic coast, and IFR, no change out here in the west. And not much change Wednesday morning either, except a little more IFR here. Some moisture pushing up along the Nunivak Island area in across the Yukon Delta, IFR across St. Lawrence Island, VFR, northern interior, all the way down the Copper River Basin, except the Wrangels. And areas of marginal VFR here across south central Alaska on out to the west. IFR, Gulf of Alaska, right in along the southeast coast. And for the afternoon, Wednesday, mostly VFR now for the entire panhandle. Some marginal VFR, say from Port Alexander or just off the coast there, right up in toward Yakutat and southern Prince William Sound, southern Kenai Peninsula. VFR Bristol Bay, Fognak Island, Kuskokwim Valley. Everything east of the Kuskokwim Mountains, actually, across the Copper River Basin, and then a little bit of marginal VFR right through there, say Tanana, Galena, back to the west, VFR for the North Slope and eastern Arctic coast, and still IFR over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And for it passes tomorrow, both Anaktuvik and Adigan, VFR day coming up. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR as well. Rainy could be starting out marginal VFR, and then becoming VFR probably by late morning and through the afternoon for windy VFR the entire day. And Isabel, VFR, Mintasta, VFR possibly becoming marginal with building convection in the area there. So it could go marginal in the later part of the afternoon into evening. And for Tanita though, VFR conditions with Portage, VFR also. Chilkoot and White, VFR. And for the freezing levels, northerly flow aloft, pulling some chillier air down up here over the eastern North Slope and Arctic coast, 2,000 feet down to the Brooks Range there at the surface right along the coast for tomorrow morning. Warmer out to the west, 6,000 feet and 10,000 feet here, southeast Bering, Alaska Peninsula, and the line right up across southern Alaska here along the coast a little bit, and then falling back to about 8,000 feet over the southern panhandle, not much of a difference. A little bit cooler pocket of air here with that low pressure area out over the southern Bering Sea, so 4,000 feet. And leftover icing with that front that's pushing in and weakening as it comes. There could be areas of light rime icing here, Alaska Peninsula, or even isolated moderate maybe, Fox Islands. But this area a little more significant than the ones to the north here. In fact, it really starts washing out there up here in this area. And from there, we'll move on to the jet stream. Basically at 33,000 feet, we've got ridging here all the way up across the western interior into the Arctic. There's that northerly flow with that upper level low there just west of Banks Island, keeping the chilly air in over the eastern North Slope. Otherwise, ridging, offshore flow now developing over the southern panhandle, 9,000 feet showing south to north flow, pretty good clip at up to 50 knots across the western Alaska Peninsula to maybe Unalaska Island, and then falling back to 25 knots along the southwest coast, 15 for St. Lawrence Island. But the Pribilof southerlies 35 knots, and then coming back around northwest 30 knots there on the backside of the low across the western Aleutians. Light wind conditions for the southeast coast, Gulf of Alaska, central eastern interior, maybe 20 knots there cutting out of the west-northwest. 25 knots on the extreme eastern Arctic coast, 9,000 feet, same thing up there, really light back to the west, ridging right through here, so light variable winds under the ridge. Increasing southerlies 20 knots out toward the southwest coast, 40 knots for the Fox Islands, and 5 to 10 knots there for the panhandle. Taking a look at turbulence, smooth for the southeast coast, all of the interior looking really good as well. Look for some moderate chop here with those southerly winds along the Alaska Peninsula. And after the break, I'll take a look at the ice conditions and marine forecasts.
Hello, I'm a GOES-R series weather satellite orbiting 22,000 miles above Earth. I can see a lot of cool stuff from up here, and I take pictures of it with my spiffy camera that has 16 different settings. I have such good eyesight, I can see clouds, snow, smoke, smog, and ash. So I can warn you about dangerous conditions and help you avoid them. When storms are brewing, I watch them closely and help with hurricane, tornado, and flood warnings to help keep you safe. And my lightning mapper tracks lightning strikes way up in the sky, even through dark, dense clouds. I also help with search and rescue missions. I listen for distress signals from emergency beacons and tell search and rescue teams just where to find people who need help. But even when I'm keeping a close eye on Earth, I'm monitoring weather out here in space, too. I watch the sun for big bursts of energy, which send waves of radiation toward Earth that can affect power grids, block communication with planes, cause errors in GPS, and damage satellites. Space weather is also very dangerous for astronauts working outside the International Space Station. I warn them so they can get inside where they'll be safe. So the next time you watch a weather report or check your phone for the forecast, remember, that's me. So look to the sky and wave. I'll be here. Whoa! Things are looking pretty bad down there. But don't worry. I'm going to give weather forecasters a heads up and help you stay safe. I'm a GOES-R series weather satellite, and one of my jobs is to keep an eye on Earth's weather as I orbit above. But I'm 22,000 miles above Earth. How does your local weather forecaster know what I see all the way up here? First, I have to figure out what's going on. I point my special camera at the Earth and take pictures of the clouds I see below. My pictures show where the clouds are, but I also take lots of other notes about the clouds. For example, how high they reach into the atmosphere, how much rain they might cause, and when a severe storm may be forming. But I can't keep all of this information to myself. I have to share it with weather forecasters down on Earth. A big antenna is waiting for my call. Since I'm a satellite, I send my pictures and notes in a computer language of ones and zeros. Luckily, the antenna speaks my language. Computers connected to the antenna organize my notes and combine all of the pictures and cloud information and translate them into weather maps. They send a version of the maps back up to me. I'll hold on to these for later. Another copy of the maps is split into smaller pieces. This helps the maps move faster from one place to another. The map pieces are then sent for processing before being sent back up in the sky to a communication satellite. From there, the maps are picked up by antennas at the National Weather Service forecast offices in each region. There are more than 100 offices. I also take the maps that I received and send them out to companies that specialize in making the maps more colorful and better for viewing on TVs and computers. The colorful maps and the maps from the forecast offices then go to your local weather forecaster. The forecaster combines the information from these maps with lots of other information, like model forecast data and radar data, to make predictions about the upcoming weather in your area. And that's how I help you find out if bad weather is going to ruin your afternoon plans. You're welcome. Soon it will be my time to shine in outer space. I'm the GOES-R satellite. That stands for Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellite. And the R stands for my order in this series of weather satellites. Like my older siblings before me, I'll do a lot for watching weather, but I'm pretty special because I have a lot of new gadgets. I'm originally from Colorado, but my journey to space has a few stops along the way. I'll be shipped in a very special satellite shipping container to Kennedy Space Center. Moving me around is not easy. I'm over 18 feet wide and weigh 6,000 pounds. And then things get really exciting. I get loaded onto an Atlas V541 launch vehicle. A big rocket! Woo! After Atlas and I blast off together, my compartment separates from the launch vehicle and I continue to climb higher and higher. Then I break away completely and unfurl my solar panel and antenna. After that, I have to use my thrusters to get into just the right position, 22,000 miles above the ground and traveling 1.9 miles per second to keep up with Earth's rotation. And then I can officially start my job along with my fellow GOES sisters, where I take advanced pictures for more accurate weather forecasts, map lightning in real time, and improve the monitoring of the sun's activity. It's going to be so awesome! I can't wait!
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis, a little different from the last couple of days, and really just the ice field sort of oscillating, shifting around with whichever way the wind blows, and of course the currents having an influence also. Still quite an open area here north of the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, changing shape again from every couple of days to the next couple of days, and no big changes in the forecast for the next 6 days. So coastal water forecast, northwest winds 20 knots on the south coast here with 5-foot seas, west-northwest 10 to 15 up north, light southerlies for Lynn Canal, 2-foot seas, and north to northwest 10 knots with central southern inside waters with seas running 2 feet. And that light wind regime continues through Wednesday with light northwest breeze here at about 10 knots, central southern inside waters, south 10, northern Lynn Canal. Small craft advisories now on the south coast for those 25-knot winds out of the northwest, diminishing to 20 knots here on the central coast, northwest at 15. Seas running 4 to 6 feet. Prince William Sound, light west winds at 10 tomorrow, and North Gulf Coast, light 10-knot winds also from either the south or the west, with seas just 3 feet. And the Barren Islands, southwest 20 knots and 5-foot seas there. Small craft advisories, Kamishak Bay, are looking at southerly winds at 25 knots, 7-foot seas. And then a 20-knot breeze there south of the Forelands with 5-foot seas. Northern Cook Inlet south at 10. Outlook for Wednesday, south to southwest 10 to 15, about sums it up for Cook Inlet, seas 2 to 4 feet. Southwest 20, Kamishak Bay, same thing for the Barren Islands and western North Gulf Coast. It's a little bit of an increase here in the wind for the North Gulf Coast on the east side there, west at 20. Even Prince William Sound will pick it up to 15 out of the southwest. Kodiak Island, east side here, southwest 20 knots. And that extends all the way to Castle Cape. Shelikof Strait, southwest at 30 tomorrow with seas at 9 feet. And south to southeast, 25 knots across the Alaska Peninsula, keeping the small craft advisories going there. Southeast 15 for Bristol Bay. And those winds, gradient tightens up a little bit more, so we're looking at 30 knots south to southeast winds here across the peninsula, seas 8 to 12 feet. And then Castle Cape to Sitkinak, 15-knot winds from the south and 20 knots from the southeast Bristol Bay, southwest 25 for Kodiak Island. And for Unalaska Island, southeast 25 knots tomorrow, seas 5 to 10 feet. Lighter to the west here, 10 to 15 knots, Adak, light winds out of the south at 15. And southwest 15 there over toward Kisk Island, then northwest at 20 for Shimmy and Attu. Outlook for Wednesday, western Aleutians, southwest 15, really light winds now for Adak and Atka Islands at 10 knots from the southwest. And 10-knot winds over toward Nikolsky, but Unalaska Island, or actually probably both Unmac and Unalaska Island will be in the small craft advisory zones with those southeast winds, 25 to 30 knots. Southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, look for southeast at 20. East 15, north side, east 20 for the St. Matthew Island area. Light winds to the Pribilofs, northeast 25, so small craft advisories are St. Lawrence Island. And those turn southeast and hold at 25 knots. And now we have 25 knots southeast winds all the way down the coastline here, and seas 7 to 9 feet. St. Matthew Island, southeast 25. Pribilof, southeast 20 with 8-foot seas. And for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, northwest tomorrow, 10 to 15 knots with seas only at about 2 to 3 feet. Light northwest breeze there on the central coast with generally slight seas. And then east 20 on the west side, seas at 4 feet. Northeast from Cape Beaufort to Cape Thompson, there northeast at 20. Cape Thompson down to Wales, or the Bering Strait north of 15. And then from Wales up to Cape Thompson on Wednesday, east at 20, turning northeast 20, coming around the Capes there, 15 knots out of the northeast on the west side, and then just light west or west-southwest breezes for the central and eastern Beaufort Sea coastline. And for tonight, that trough slowly moving eastward there, and rainfall will begin to diminish, but kind of hang on through the night over on the east side. Winds definitely coming down, dry to the west, dry to the south. Evening thunderstorms along that trough axis, mostly from the Denali Park area and along the Alaska Range, maybe the Talkeetnas, and dry for the Panhandle. Chance of rain along the southwest coast. Pushes a little farther east inland tomorrow, but it'll be quite light. Otherwise sunny over the northern half of the state. Sunny and warmer on Wednesday, wet and windy in the west.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.